Greetings and welcome to The Void. I'm Anexor, your guide, and today we're going to be looking at my top 3 tips for navigating your awakening process. So, the awakening process can be very interesting and very confusing at times, and there's going to be a lot of what you think you should do or what you think you want to do versus what you need or what's faster or more inspired, and it can be difficult to kind of figure out what exactly you should do or navigate towards in any given situation, because honestly you can do whatever you want, so then it's like there is no real rules or guidelines, society, we like to make up our own rules, but ultimately, there really are no rules. So it can be difficult. It's like, well, what do I do? I like it this way or I like it that way, and basically it's just learning how to get in touch with your own intuition. So I'll get in with number 1 is breathe. Is your breath. Just breathing in, just like that. Breathe in, breathe out. The breath is like the Tai Chi symbol, the yin and yang. The breath comes in, the breath goes out. You're never really worried about when your next breath is going to come. You can worry about when you're going to get this or when you're going to get that, or when is this going to happen or is this going to happen. But your breath is always there when you need it, and you can exhale it whenever you want. So I feel like that's a really good spot to begin, because your breath is directly tied to your consciousness. And it's also something that is automatic. Like, you don't think about breathing when you sleep. And yet it's something that you can control consciously. Whereas most people don't have the level of awareness to control their heartbeat, for example. Their heart just does what it does. The body just does what it does. You do what you can to work with them. But the breath itself is something that, like I just said, it can be controlled consciously or unconsciously, So getting into understanding how you subconsciously react to whatever's happening in your situation, and just coming back to your breath is like stepping back, because we can get so deep in and so involved in the intricacies of our experience, and it can be difficult to pull back from that when we're so deep in it. But to whatever degree you can, maybe you can't step all the way back to a Zen state where you're like cross-leg or whatever and just like chilling and be able to breathe really deep. But maybe you can breathe a little deeper than you just were. See, maybe you can speak a little bit more slowly than you were. Maybe you can take things a little bit more easily than you were, and just kind of tone it back. It's a really powerful tool. And think about when people are, in a stressful situation and it comes to an end, or the danger passes, or whatever, there's a resolution. Most people will the sigh of relief. Well, now that you know that, why don't you conjure up a sigh of relief before anything physical has happened? And that way you can alter your psychic and energetic state of being and chill yourself out, calm yourself down before, reality has kind of molded itself into a shape that you're more comfortable with. And that way you kind of detach yourself from being at effect to your reality to being basically invincible, because at any moment you can just that's all I need, man. that's really all I need. So that nice deep breath. So that was number one. But number two is your emotions. Learn to get back in touch with your emotions if you've gotten out of touch. And even if you're in touch with your emotions, find a way to get deeper. Find a way to get deeper in there. There's an infinite amount of magnitude, of force, of intensity for you to experience in life. What we are is something that the mind cannot encapsulate in any given moment. It's like looking at the pictures when you are the movie. So the totality of your emotional architecture is something that the moment by moment three-dimensional analytical mind will literally take forever to explore and navigate, because it's a fractal structure. So there's definitely, even if you're already well in tune, there's always more. You can always get deeper. So definitely learn how to get in touch with your emotions, process some of those emotions that you may have been holding back. Maybe you're a tough guy. I've been a pretty tough guy my entire life, and I felt it was necessary, for survival, and a lot of us do that. We close ourselves off, and it can be valuable in certain situations, but 10, 20, 30, 40, 50 years later, when you're nowhere near the circumstances that used to generate that psychological framework of emotional repression, it no longer serves you, basically, and you're just walking around with this baggage that's like, you don't need that anymore. Like, just let it go. So it's just finding a way to really dig deep and analyze where some of your patterns and behaviors are coming from, and the emotional ties that they have, and figuring out a way to get deep and experience them, let them come out. It's like there's like mud in the hose, right? And you turn on the water, well, there's going to be muddy water for a while. It's the same way with emotions. Like they're still in there, and you need to experience them to let them out. But once they're out, now the rest of the water is going to be clear coming from the spigot. But as long as you're afraid of that little tiny patch of dirty water, and you don't want to experience any of your emotions because of that, then you're not going to be able to, water the garden of your life. And everything's going to wither, and it's going to seem kind of scary. So definitely get in touch with your emotions again. Learn to process them and find the courage wherever it is. I can tell you that you can continue to hide and push them away or whatever, but it's just gonna last forever. It's never gonna go away. Like, you really just start now, whatever you can. Again, it's infinite, so any little bit you can do is fine, to the degree that you're comfortable with. But finding a way to kind of stretch that comfort zone and get a little deeper, as time goes on. So hopefully you'll look into some, different methodologies. One for me is, my emotions have been pretty intense, is vigorous exercise. Exercise that pushes you to the brink where you feel like you can't do it, or you want to give up, and then pushing through and using your master consciousness, that very arrow precise, like laser mind focus, to push through in that moment. And that's when the emotional baggage comes up that's holding you back, or that's been holding you back, and then you can experience it through that way, and you can kind of burn it up in the fire of exercise. There's so many different methodologies and everything like that, but some of them are pretty soft and subtle, and for people that have been repressing for a long time, Either they just don't have the time or they don't have the patience, because it takes a while to kind of scrub that out with softer, gentler means. If you really want to get into that black stain, you got to get that stainless steel scrub, and some heavy duty, you need some heavy duty equipment, a heavy duty process to work through it. So definitely that's something to consider. Number 3 is trusting and letting go. And these kind of all tie together. Like, when you come back to your breath, you can get more in touch with your emotional flow. And your emotional flow, or your energetic state, is how your soul or your spirit or the universe, or whatever you want to call that aspect of self, that transcendent aspect of self, your higher self, communicates with you. It's the only real form of communication that matters, 1, and 2 is not really subject to contamination, because you can see signs anywhere, but it's like, oh, anyone can put that there and kind of try to manipulate your experience how they want, but you feel how you feel, and no one really knows how you feel. You can try to tell them with words, but your internal experience is unique to you, and so that's a unique language that the universe will use to communicate with you. And so to the degree that you're able to chill, let go, process whatever kind of blockages you have inside and let them out, let them go, then you're going to be able to be more open and receptive to the signal that your soul is sending you. And that's going to be able to give you insights and inspiration on what to do next, on how you should navigate the next step when a situation comes up that you don't know what to do. If you just do some emotional work, do some emotional processing, trust, let go, and then see what comes up. See what you're inspired to do. See what feels the best. Whatever feels the best is going to be what your soul is kind of egging you on to go and try that. It could be a little scary. It could be make you a little uncomfortable. You may not know. You may wonder, what are people going to think or whatever. But those are just things that, are opportunities for you to, grow and become more mature as an eternal spiritual being, not worrying about what other people think, taking responsibility for your own life and doing what you want to do, and living your truth, instead of somebody else's, So all these little things may come in, but ultimately those are just going to be, insecurities that are now coming to the surface for you to process and work through. And if that's the step you need to take, if that's as far back as you need to go, then that's as far back as you need to go. You can't keep progressing forward when your shirt is snagged on the door handle. You got to take a step back and pluck your shirt off the door handle. Otherwise, your shirt's going to get torn. In this case, in the case of this example, your body will get torn up, and you can get a new shirt, but the process of getting a new body is quite intense. You have to relearn everything and go through a whole new experience. You don't even know what timeline you're going to incarnate in. So definitely do what you can with this lifetime and make as much progress as you can now, while you've already learned how to talk, how to walk. You've already been through a whole bunch of contrasts in your experience. You've already done the work, really. You've already paid your dues. Now it's time to just open up and be receptive to all the preferences that you've lined up, all the things that you've created in your mind that you want to experience. Your soul's already created all of them for you. It's just a matter of being able to receive them. So that's what the breath is about, in and out, because you want that flow to go, and you don't want to hold on to things, that stagnation, So those are my top 3 tips. That's the most powerful things, honestly, that you can do, is to just breathe trust, let go, let your emotions flow, follow your emotions as your guidance system, and you should do well. All right, guys, stay blessed.